Greetings, and in this short video presentation we're going to see how easy it is to create a virtual machine of Kali using a pre-built image. Now the first thing we need to have on our host machine is a hypervisor. Now if you're watching this video, it's because you either can't use VMware because Windows 10 doesn't like it, or you have a Mac operating system. So we go out to the Virtualbox.org site, and all these links are in the lab. So you just follow the lab and it'll give you the link to come out here and to get your download package for Virtualbox. Now once you're up here, you have to decide whether or not you're going to install Virtualbox on a Windows or an OS X or a Mac host. Alright, you also have Linux and you have Solaris. Alright, so once we've done that and we've installed Virtualbox, our next step is to install a free download manager. Why? Because this is a big download. And you don't want to waste time being disconnected and having to restart, and not only that, but the time that it takes to download almost 4 gigs of data can be very time consuming. I mean, this can go on for 10, maybe 12 hours just using a normal Explorer download method. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a download manager. This will manage the download for us so that if we get disconnected, we can pick up right where we left off, and it greatly speeds up the download process. So I've downloaded this one here called Free Download Manager. It's spyware, malware, adware free. No worries there. Now once we have that downloaded, we're going to go over to the Kali download site. Now once you have your software installed, you got the Virtualbox Hypervisor installed, you have the Free Download Manager installed, now we can go over to the Kali download site for the Virtualbox images. And so I'm up here at offensive-security.com, and I went to their image download site, and inside the image download site we have a number of different images we can download. We have VMware images, we have Virtualbox, and we have Hyper-V images. So you've got 3 different hypervisors that you can deal with here. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to select the version that we need for our machine. Most of us are going to be using 64-bit. There may be an occasional 32-bit piece of hardware that shows up, but for the most part, most of us have upgraded our hardware in the last 2 or 3 years, so we're going to have 64-bit hardware. Now, we have to decide whether we want to do it through a straight download or do we want to use a torrent. Now, Free Download Manager will associate with torrent files. That's not a problem, right? So if you click on either one, it's still going to work. But I don't find much difference in the download speed or the download time with either one. So the torrent and the actual straight download work pretty much the same. So what I like to do is just right click on the download that I choose, and I'm just going to go to copy the link location like so, and I'm going to open up my download manager. I'm going to click on this plus sign up here in the left hand corner, and it actually picks it up from my clipboard for me. So now all I have to say is OK, and it goes out, requests the download, and I'm saving my download to a separate partition so that I don't fill up my C drive. Now this is all part of the properties that are available inside of the Free Download Manager. So by default, it wants to save it over to your downloads folder on your C drive, but I went ahead and moved that over to another location. So now I'm going to just click on download, and it will begin the download process very quickly, and it starts to drop the time down rapidly. So right now I'm at 13 minutes. Now again, this is a very large download, and if you do this without the download manager, expect to spend somewhere between 8 and 12 hours waiting for the download to complete. So my download has completed. So now I'm going to browse using my Explorer right here, I'm going to browse over to where this download is currently located. Now, this image will automatically associate itself with a Virtualbox. So all I have to do to get this to happen is just double click it like so, and Virtualbox is going to start up and the installation process will begin. So Virtualbox pops up and now it wants to import this image using the Import Virtual Appliance Wizard. Nothing could be easier. Okay, so all we have to do is just tell it to import it. That's all we have to say. Say import, and the import process begins. So the importation of our Kali image has completed, and there is Kali sitting in our menu waiting to be started. So let's just go ahead and highlight it and then click on the green start button, and Kali is going to start up here in just a moment. And now we have an error. Now this error is very common, so we're going to see how we go about fixing it. If we open up the details, it tells you that because the USB 2.0 controller state is part of the saved VM state, the VM cannot be started. To fix the problem, either install the Oracle VirtualBox extension pack or disable the USB 2.0 support in the VM settings. Easy enough. Close that out. Let's go into the settings. And now we're going to go into the USB. And right here it says Enable USB Controller. Uncheck that. Say OK. Now when we go back and we try to start it, we won't have a problem. So these are just some of the things that you have to worry about sometimes with these images. For the most part, they're very painless and they work without any problems at all. So now it just wants to know which install do you want to use, and we're going to go ahead and accept the default and allow it to boot up to the Kali desktop. So be patient as Kali starts to boot up, because it looks like it may not be doing anything, but it's working. Alright, the username for Kali is root, and I'm going to hit enter. Now the password is root spelled backwards, or Tor. Now before you hit the sign on button, click on this little wheel right here, and now we can change our desktop display. By default it wants to use the system X11, but this is problematic. So I suggest that before you have problems, you go ahead and head that off at the pass and select the GNOME. Alright? And now we just say sign in. Now what problem am I talking about? Well, there's a problem with the desktop in the Kali rollout version, in that it will close you out if you open up a terminal session. So you're sitting here at the desktop, and if you open up a terminal, it automatically logs you off. So to prevent that from happening, we just switch desktops. Now, and our next thing we want to do here is we want to go ahead and set the power option so that Kali doesn't log us off after 5 minutes of inactivity. To do this, we're just going to go over here to the top right, and we're going to pull down this menu here, and we're going to go to the settings button. Click on the settings, and now we're just going to go over to power. And from the power menu, we pull down the blank screen option and we select never. And that will keep you from getting logged off. Just close it out, the X right there. Okay. Now, when you shut down Kali, you have to do it gracefully. You can't just go in here and click on this option right here. This is no good. This will corrupt your Kali install. Luckily, it's an image. Luckily, you have that image backed up someplace, so it's nothing to blow it out and to reinstall it using that image. But to prevent this from happening, we want to go ahead and make sure that we shut down gracefully. So we do that by clicking on the power button here, and we go to the power option here, and you have one of two options, either power off or restart or cancel. We're going to go ahead and cancel, and now we're going to get into the process of actually updating Kali. So I've gone ahead and made Kali full screen by just going up in here and selecting the option. I'll knock it back down again. And if I go in here and click, I can make it full screen. Now this may not work for you until you have the guest editions installed. Don't panic if it doesn't go full screen. We will get to the installation of the guest editions. Now we want to go ahead and update Kali because there's a lot of stuff out there that we need to get before we can actually assume that Kali is ready for prime time. So if you look at the lab, underneath the section where it talks about updating your Kali install, there is a command there that says app-get space update space ampersand space app-get space upgrade space -y. Yes, welcome to Linux. This is how the command line works. Now I just copied that out of the lab, and I'm going to go back over to my terminal up inside of Kali, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to say paste, and there's the command. Now this will stop you from having a lot of headaches and fat fingering the commands and getting frustrated. Just copy and paste the commands from the lab into your Kali and you won't get so frustrated. Okay, so I'm now going to go ahead and just say enter. And now Kali is going to go out, it's going to find the site that it needs so that it can update. And when we come back, we'll have an updated Kali. You have to be patient with Kali and the update process. If you're not, then you're going to corrupt the install of these updates and you're going to have to start all over again. And again, with an image, it's not a big deal. But when we get done updating Kali, we can then take a snapshot of Kali, and that will become our image. And that will include all of these updates. Now, throughout the update process, you will be prompted to make some decisions or to interact with some of these updates. This one here is for the Mac changer. So I'm going to go ahead and select yes on this one. And I'm just going to use my arrow and come on over and say yes. And then I'm just going to hit enter. And the update process continues. Okay, so now the next interaction is with configuring another service. And it wants to say that there are services installed on your system which need to be restarted with certain libraries. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to go ahead and use our arrow again. Come on over to say yes. And we'll restart for us without asking. And again, the installation of the updates continues. Our next interaction here is with the configuring of the grub-PC. Just go ahead and hit enter. And now it wants to know about the grub installing devices. Just go down here and just tab on down and say OK. And continue with installing the grub. Just say yes and hit enter, and we'll continue on with the updating of Kali. So Kali has now finished updating, and we can confirm this because we are back at the root at Kali prompt. So we're going to go ahead and close out the terminal, and let's go ahead and do a graceful restart. I'm going to go up here to my start button, click on the next start button, and now I'm going to select restart. And when Kali comes back up, we'll have everything calmed down, and we should be able to proceed with installing the guest editions. Kali has restarted. I've logged back in, and I'm back to my desktop. And again, let's launch the terminal. And this time we're going to install the guest editions. So if you go to the lab, and we are on page 10, you'll see that there's a command there for sudo get app-get install Virtualbox, the guest editions. And we're just going to go ahead and right click in here, and we're going to paste that in, and we're going to say install. As soon as this gets done, we'll be right back. So the guest editions have completed their installation process, and again we are back at the root at Kali prompt, letting us know that that is the case. We're going to close out the terminal. And again, we're going to do another graceful restart so that all these guest editions can properly install themselves and settle down. So the next thing we want to do before we get out of here is create a snapshot. Now, The snapshot is an image of a time when we had everything updated, we had installed the guest editions, and we have Kali exactly where we want it. And once we make this snapshot, we can then go back in and we can make any changes. If the changes happen to hose our Kali install, not to worry, we'll just restore it to the snapshot. Let's go ahead and begin. We start by going to Machine, and we're just going to click on Take a Snapshot. This pops up here, lets you know about the snapshot wizard, and you can just give it a user-friendly name. I just call mine Kali Updated, and I'm just going to put this back into the description, and I'm going to say OK to that. And now the snapshot will begin to work. And that's all there is to it. We're now going to shut down Kali, and we're going to see how we go about restoring to a snapshot. So go ahead and gracefully shut down your machine. Go over to the power button, and this time just select power off. So I'm back at the VirtualBox Manager, and if you go over here to the right, you'll see that we have a snapshot. And if you click on this, you'll see that we can bring up the current snapshot and the current state. Now if you right click on this here and you say take a snapshot or clone, you can, but you don't need to. So we can right click on this and you can say restore, delete, or show details. Now if you're going to restore Kali, it's going to ask you a question. It's going to ask you if you want to take a snapshot of the current state as well, and you can just uncheck this, and now you can say restore, and this one here will become the current state. So this is going to conclude our short video presentation on how we go about creating a VirtualBox install of Kali using the pre-built image. And if you have any questions or you have any problems, please do not hesitate to contact your instructor. I'll see you in the next video.